what we're seeing, and I think what is kind of confusing is we hear a lot of political rhetoric about people boycotting when companies take a political stance. In our survey, what we found is only 22% of Americans want companies to become more political. And so what we're seeing there is on these key issues that a lot of brands are taking stances on, most Americans would just say, hey, can you butt out for a minute?
And are there, I assume there are issues and then there are issues where people would look at a political stance in a more benign way. In other words, we are for racial justice.
Right.
We are for equality. And those they may be less polarized by consumers as opposed to others, taking a stance pro or against President Trump, taking a stance pro or against pro-choice, pro-life, things like that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. In our study, we asked about a range of issues that brands could take a stance on, and the ones that are most likely to be a win for your brand are things like LGBTQ rights, minority rights. The things that are most likely to hurt your brand are things like taking a stance on Trump. Probably the biggest takeaway from this study is if you don't have to mention Trump, if you don't have to get involved with Trump, don't, because for every person you're gonna make happy, you're going to alienate two others.
So this is sort of anti what your mom says. If someone hits you, you should hit back. You're saying don't hit back.
No, if you don't have to engage with Trump, don't. That is what we're saying. It's what the study showed.
You know, it makes me think, I sat down with the CEO of Harley Davidson, Matt Levitich, last week, and one of the points he made over and over again is we're apolitical. We don't get involved because our consumers are consumers and it's their business, it's not our business. We're basically in the business of selling motorcycles. It's a fine line, though, right? Because you see this push, including this push from Wall Street towards more social, corporate, environmental responsibility by these companies. So how do you balance that with not getting political?
Well, I think when you're looking at your corporate social responsibility strategy, our main advice from this report is to keep it simple. Don't overthink the good you're doing. When we asked about these range of issues, the things that people cared most about were treating your employees fairly, donating to charities, bringing back American jobs. Those are the issues that are most likely to win favor. So just don't overthink it when you're thinking through that strategy.
So that actually surprised me when you say do things like pay your employees well, treat them fairly, because then you asked the consumers to basically name the 10 most ethical brands you can think of. And on the top of the list was Walmart, Amazon, and Target. And I cover retail, and so the reason that surprises me is because those companies have gotten a decent amount of flack for how they treat and pay their employees.
Right, so I think the way you have to think about the way Americans think about these companies when it comes to thinking about if they're ethical is that we ask them just to, at the top of your mind, what is a company that you think is ethical? Walmart, Target, Amazon, these are things that are just essential to Americans' lives. They give you cheaper goods, you can buy school supplies there, they bring jobs to your community. So I think when they're thinking about it, it's not so much from the perspective of what they're doing on a public sphere, it's how it's impacting their life.
So when the president tweets or comments at a company directly, many of these companies have actually taken the road of not responding at all and just going radio silent. That's been the right move.
I think your best bet is just to wait it out until the attention flips, which it will, obviously, very quickly.
Where in that panoply of there are issues and then there are issues does gun control fall?
It's right in the middle, interestingly. But to the point of that...
So if a company takes a position pro or against it, what, you're going to have half the population with you and half against you? If, for example, Dick's says, I'm not selling assault rifles anymore.
That's exactly right. It's like Trump, where if you are going to take a stance, you're going to alienate a good portion of the company. So your best bet is just to step away and not engage if you don't have to when it comes to gun control.